Okay, welcome once again, Nana, and everyone here. Thank you, Nana, for joining us today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're kicking off immediately. And like I said earlier, for the students that are here, please do well to drop a message on Discord so your other colleagues can join us on this call. So please do well to drop a message on Discord so we have more persons joining us. Thank you. Yeah, Miss Nana, please, you can start while we share the slides. Thank you. So, Ms. Amaka, please, you can share the slide. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Right. Can I go ahead?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Anadra. And before I start, I want to apologize for what happened on Saturday. I think there was a bit of miscommunication. So I joined in later and I realized it was earlier. So I apologize for that. So today I'm going to talk about collaboration skills and interview skills. So who will be sharing the screen? Ella? Who is helping?
Okay, Ms. Amaka will be sharing a screen. I think she's already doing that now. So can you see it from your end?
Yeah, I can see from my end now. All right.
All right.
So yeah. So basically, we can go to the next slide. What we'll be talking about today, like I said, is the collaboration skills and interview tips. I would first introduce myself, how I got into product management, and then we'll kickstart and talking about what the collaboration skills are. But I like to have a very interactive class. So maybe if I ask a question, I would encourage that we all get involved, and then we could have a fruitful discussion. It wouldn't take us too long. Yeah. So I got into tech 2 years ago. I did international affairs and then political science, but then I started off with cloud computing in 2020, and then that's how I my journey in tech started. And then fast forward, earlier this year, I started my journey in product management, and I'm currently a product manager with GainX Lab. It's a software company in Ghana here, where we build products, and we also give opportunity for students that want to learn hands-on experience in any field. So we have people that are currently learning like software engineering, UI, UX, product management, and all that. But then we build products as well. So that's a little about me. So today we'll talk about collaboration. Can anybody tell me what comes to mind when we say collaboration? Anybody wants to help me out? Anyone wants to hear to try?
Hello, guys. You can go ahead and contribute. I think we already have some messages in the chat. So you can either go ahead and to type your questions, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you so that you can ask your questions.
Yeah, so I would appreciate if maybe we could unmute them so that they could talk. So anybody that wants to say something, please feel free to put up your hand. When we say collaboration, what comes to mind? Kindly go to the next slide, please.
Collaboration is the action of working with someone to produce something.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, like Amaka said, you are working with somebody to produce something. Now we know, I know by now, as a product manager, you do not work in isolation. You work with a ton of people. You work with engineers, you work with UI, UX, you work with the marketing team, the sales team. They all come together to form to build a product together. You can't build a product on your own because you are the person trying to drive affairs, trying to make sure everybody is on point, everybody understands what the product vision is, everybody gets what the strategy is, and everybody is building in that way. So collaboration is one of the key skills that you need as a PM. Now, when I say you need as a PM, you should be able to bring the UI UX team on board. You should be able to bring the software engineering team on board, bring everybody on board on the same plate. Now, sometimes there are instances where UI UX probably will want to do something different. Software engineers are thinking that what the UI UX people have designed is not enough. They won't be able to build that. And in that instance, you should be able to get everybody settled, get everybody and bring everybody to a consensus and try and work together to build a product. Because if you do not all have like different versions, you all have like different things you want to build, you in the end, well, you're not going to build any successful product, and your product is going to fail. And then usually when a product fails, it's on the product manager. It's never on the software engineer. It's never on the UI UX, but it's on the product manager because you are seen as somebody more like the head of the product. Even though you are leading without authority, you are more like leading everybody in the same way. So that's what the slide is about. I think we can go to the next slide. If you have any question, feel free to put up your hand and ask me. Right, so we want to talk about the importance of collaboration. So now the first thing is that it allows for more productivity amongst the team. Now, when everybody is on the same page, when everybody knows what we have to work together to do, you wouldn't find a software engineer trying to do the work of a UI UX engineer. You will not find the UI UX engineer trying to do the work of a software engineer. So now everybody has what I have to do. Now this is in this sprint, we were told that by the next meeting, I should have maybe the wireframes ready. Software engineers are supposed to maybe build backend, do this. Now everybody has what they're going to work on. So you are in the space of making sure that everybody works, and everybody, when you come to the meeting, you see that there's always an increase. There's always an increase in productivity. Everybody is doing what they have been able to do. But then if there's no collaboration, this person goes here and says, okay, I'm working on this. And then this person says, you're working on this. And then sometimes you have to go and meet your stakeholders. Okay, you go and meet your stakeholders, and then your stakeholders are saying something different, that with whatever meeting you've had with the software engineers, your UI UX engineers, they do not support it. And at that moment, your products will be more, how do I put the word? It's going to be on the verge of failing. And I've had an instance that way, that the stakeholders, the major stakeholders, actually thinking differently. So my team and I, we also were thinking differently. I thought we all had understood that, but it turned out to be that they're all thinking differently. And in the major meeting, there was a lot of back and forth. That's the beauty of product management. You fail and then you build up again. So that was where we were able to now sit down together, collaborate, work together, and say, okay, you are doing this, everybody's on the same page, and then we move on. Okay, any question for me? Any question before I go to the next? All right, thank you. So who would help me with it leading to innovation? No, we are not done with the importance of collaboration. Anyone to help me with how collaboration leads to innovation? Amaka, I see your name here. Do you want to help me with that? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. All right. So anyone to help me with how collaboration leads to innovation? Anyone wants to help me? Okay, thank you. Adibola. I hope I got your name right. Yeah. So it helps you to pull creative ideas from different people. Yes, excellent. Because sometimes you find yourself in a meeting where you think you found a better solution to a customer problem you're trying to solve. But then as you're working together, somebody brings a different perspective or a different idea. and then you realize that that could be better. I mean, that could work more, and that could meet both the business needs and the customer needs as well. So that's one thing about collaboration. And then there's also the increased success. So like I was talking about the fact that if you do not have the same vision, or if your team members are not collaborating, your product is on the verge of failing. But if there's collaboration amongst everyone, um, there's a 90% chance that every your products would succeed, because the product manager is talking to the customers, trying to get the customer pain points, trying to do the market research, bring everything together, and you deliberate on it, think through it, and make a solution. The software engineer, the software engineer is actually building what is expected of him or her to build. Is it me? All right. So
Sorry,
software engineer.
sorry to cut you short, Nana.
Sure.
Please, if you are not speaking, please mute yourself. Thank you. If you are not speaking, aside the instructor, please, every other person should mute themselves. Thank you. Okay, you can go on, please.
Right. So I was saying, if everybody is doing what they have to do, what their function has, what their role tells them to do, there's a high increase chance that your product is going to succeed. Now there's improved communication because you are working together. One thing about product managers is building relationship, right? Maybe by now you know it's very essential, because you are never in isolation, you are never alone. And if you're not able to communicate what the issue is, if you're not able to communicate what you're trying to drive at, what you're trying to achieve, nobody's able to go with you along that area. Because as a product manager, you're supposed to be able to build credibility. And building credibility means that making sure that people understand what you're saying. You are building. So sorry. So everybody, you are able to communicate with everybody, and nobody is actually like shy to come to you for any issue. But because sometimes as product managers, if you're too strict and you do not open up, you do not communicate with your people, sometimes it's quite difficult for other people on your team to tell you what they think. So even if you are making a mistake, they could leave you to make your own mistakes the way you want. But then if there's collaboration, I mean, I could come to you at any time to just talk about whatever we need to do. All right. Please let's go to the next slide. Any question for me before we go to the next slide? Any question for me? All right, please let's go to the next slide. Can you hear me?
Sorry, Ms. Amaka, if you can hear me, please, you can move to the next slide. Thank you.
Right. So now that we know the importance of collaboration, we know what collaboration is. Now I want to talk about how you can improve collaboration in your team and make sure that everything is going on well. So the first thing is you find interest in what your team is doing. As a product manager, you are more like, I don't say the head. No, you're not the head. You are more like the one driving affairs. But then you must get people to do the work. You must get the software engineers to do the work. You must get sales team to do the work. You must get the marketing team to do the work. But then if you are not able to do that, you are actually putting the whole organization or the business needs at risk. So the first thing you have to do is just find interest in what your team is doing. I just want to pose a question, a rhetorical question. How would you feel if somebody just comes in and the person just goes on and says, Ella, do this. Ella, today you need to present this. When Ella brings it, no, I don't like it. The design is not good. I mean, it's so sorry about the background noise. So the first thing that you have to do is to find interest in what your team is doing. Now, if Ella comes and then I talk to Ella and I say, oh Ella, so we are building the code. What goes into the code? I mean, how difficult is it? If you come for meetings and we say we do not like this, how do you feel? Now Ella has that sense of feeling that I'm being empathetic towards her. I'm trying to really understand her. So when she comes into meetings and then we are trying to think together, she brings up her idea. She's not shy to speak. She's able to do what we've asked her to do. But then if I'm more like in my own world and I don't know what she's doing, I don't really care about what she's doing, and I'm just giving her the tax here and here. When she brings it, I mean, this is not good. Kindly change it. Just do this. It just puts her back into a shell, and then you're not going to get the best out of every team. So one good thing that we have been taught usually, just probably like have one-on-one meetings with your team members once in a while. Just try and like have a meeting, maybe 15 minutes meeting. If it's virtual, if not virtual, maybe like a coffee chat. Just have a meeting with a person, get to know what they are doing, just show interest in what they are, the work that they are putting in, and then acknowledge what they are doing as well. So the second thing is that you need to appreciate your team for not only success received but efforts made. Now, failing in building a product and failing is normal. Trust me, there's a lot of assumptions that we product management start working with, and then you realize that these assumptions that I was working with is actually wrong. That's not how my customers feel. That's not how this is it. But then probably at that time you have engaged your people, your team from ideation, and probably you are now getting to the MVP, and then you realize that no, we are building the wrong thing. Now, this is not the time where you need to just be in your corner and try to be, hey, we don't have time. We have a deadline to meet and all that. For every effort that your team makes, a team member makes, try and appreciate them, even if the design is not nice. I mean, appreciate the time and the effort they put in the design. Because trust me, I've tried designing a prototype before, and it wasn't easy. And at that moment, I was like, okay, so the product designers actually really, really put a lot into it. So try and just for every single thing they do, for every single thing that they say, try and appreciate it. Like, okay, I think I get your point. I get where you're coming from, but maybe I think we can do it this way. At that point, you're not shutting them out completely. You are empathizing with them, and then you are bringing up your point as well. So it doesn't look like, okay, whatever I said was not needed, so I'm not going to talk again. All right. And then the third thing is that you need to have data to back up your reason why things must be done. Now, if you're a product manager, you would know that data should be in your handbag. I mean, data is everything, because you make most of the decisions with data. How many people our consumers are saying that they want this feature? How many people are actually saying they want this feature? What do we know? We are having like a less monthly user rate. We are having the churn return we are having is low. What is influencing that? That's data. You can't just set up and then just say, oh, this is what is happening, and then you tell the team people and say, okay, so I spoke to consumers and the consumers said they want this feature. The point is, how many people did you speak to? What percentage wanted this? What were the other alternatives that people wanted as well? So these are all things that we should be looking out for. Sorry, can you hear me? I think I'm dropping off.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry. Yeah, so these are some of the things that you should be looking out for when you are trying to build collaboration amongst your team members. But there's already, because if you bring up the data, I know that, okay, I'm not just the designer or engineer will know that you're not just speaking on top of your mind. You actually have data to back it. So they know they are not going to do anything and waste their time. And then you come back and say, okay, this is what we did and I think it's wrong and let's do this again. So it's just more about building that rapport amongst everyone. So any questions before I go to the interview tips? Any question for me? Any interview tips? All right. Any questions? I mean, sorry. So the following slides, I think they can share the slides with you. It just talks about the interview when you're going to meet your recruiter. This is for the recruiter, but what I'm going to talk about now is when you interview your users to make decisions or to build products. So maybe Amaka, when you're sharing the screen and when you're sharing the slides, then just know that this is for job search for people that are looking out to start up looking out for product management jobs. These are some of the tips that helped me, so maybe they could help you. But I'll just dive into talking about the interview tips when you're doing user interviews for your products. All right. I want to ask a question. I think I'll ask Dami Julius. When we talk about like user interviews, what comes to mind? And maybe do you have like experience in doing that? Hello, Julius. If you can hear me.
Okay, Julius, please, you can unmute yourself. Thank you.
All right, I think maybe Julius is not able to speak. Amaka, sorry I'm mentioning your name. I see your name here.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, talking about you.
Sorry, please, can you say the question again?
Yeah, so I'm asking that have you conducted, and when we talk about user interviews, what comes to mind? And have you conducted any user interviews before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so can you tell me your experience with that and what's it about?
Okay, in my opinion, user interview is just about reaching out to clients to ask for their opinion about why you're creating that app, the importance of the app, trying to also figure out, like, if you have a particular thing you want your app to solve, you're also trying to reach out to them to know if that works for them, if that particular solution works for them, or you have to. Basically, at the end of the day, the end goal of our app is always for the clients to be satisfied. So the user interview is just like you reaching out to those users to know what they want, because at the end of the day, you're always designing for the users and not for yourself. So basically, you conduct an interview just to know how your users feel about that creation of the app and the solution of the app.
Right. Thank you so much. That's very good. So that's about conducting user interviews. Now, one thing that usually when you're starting out as product management managers, we miss out on is that when you're conducting a user interview, you are conducting it with a closed mind. When I say closed mind, is like you are just going to present this particular solution to the person you're going to interview. You do not want to, you're not even going there to honestly talk to them and see if they have any other views or maybe what they think about the problem. Maybe what you even think is a problem is not an issue to them. So that's one thing that when you're going out for interviews, you should start off with. Now, when you the first thing is that when you are putting down your questions, please try and make sure that you do not box your interviewees, right? Do not box them in the sense that don't ask them questions that says yes, no. Um, is there a way you conduct this for me? Yes, no. I mean, that's not how it's done, because when you do that, you're not going to get the real answers from them. So the main idea is that talk to them. So let's say currently we are building a health app. So I had to meet a client, and then I started off, I knew she had a chronic disease. So I was just trying to talk to her about it. But then I realized that she wasn't comfortable with the topic. And I didn't want to start off with maybe, do you have a chronic disease? Do you have a terminal disease? Because at that moment, that's going to put her in a yes, no position. And then it means any question you are going to ask, they're just going to be direct. So you start off from a very friendly note, try and just get familiar with the person, how's everything going, and then you talk about the essence of the interview. So then you start off and maybe ask that, maybe is this an issue or how do you feel when this and this and that. Now, when you do that, you get the person to start talking from the onset. But when you ask a yes no question, you get the person to be quiet. You box the person from the very beginning, and trust me, you're not going to get as much as information as you need. So anytime you're starting an interview with someone, just have that in mind. And then it's best practice that you record the interview. Let the person know that I'm recording the interview, but it's strictly for business purposes, or it's for that whatever I'm trying to do, my project, and it won't go anywhere. If the person is not comfortable on the video call, that's fine. But then if it's you need to record it, audio, you need to record it because you will need that. You will need that after your interview because you need to sit down and put everything down. When you think that you'll be able to write as they speak, trust me, you miss out on you miss out on a lot of things. So that's another tip that you should know. You start off with audio, and then you record it, and then do not start asking your people questions that will give them the chance to answer directly to you. Any question before I go on? All right. So another thing also is that now when you are done with your questions, please be sure to also ask the person whether the person has any other solution, any possible solution, any comment the person wants to add. It's very, very important. Do not ever finish your interviews without asking that particular question. Because probably as you are talking about, as you are having that interview, maybe the person has thought about it before, the person has like something better or a feature that is very good that you could add that you haven't thought about at that moment. So you always have to make sure to ask the person that maybe is there anything you would want this app to do for you? Is there any suggestion you would want to give? Is there any solution that you want to give the team? So that's for how to do user interviews. Record them, make sure you have it, and then be sincere with yourself. Trust me, be sincere with yourself, because sometimes you would find out that after doing a lot of interviews, you realize that what you are thinking about is not valid. The problem you're thinking about is not valid. And that point, you need to come to yourself and say, okay, so I was thinking wrongly. It doesn't take anything away from you, but you just need to be sincere with yourself, because if you go on to build whatever you have in mind, even after conducting these interviews, you would realize that it is not, people are not going to purchase it. And then it's going to be a waste of time, waste of money, waste of, every resource from the company, or even if it's a personal project, it's going to be waste of information, resources on your end. So that's about the interview skills for user when you're conducting interviews for users, and then the collaboration skills. I don't know if you have enough time to talk about this. This is just for like a job search. I don't know if Ella, we could go ahead and talk about this. So maybe you could share it with them if they have.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and talk about it, Nana.
All right, sure. So please you go to slide 7 for me. Slide 7. So for when I started searching for product management roles, I made a lot of mistakes. The mistakes I made was trying to apply for every role without really looking at the job description. Because you need to tailor it according to the job description. And usually when it passes through the ATS system and you do not pass that minimum requirements, you do not go through. So to quickly run through this, before your interview, you need to refine your resume. You tailor it according to the job description, and most importantly, you need to network. You network with other PMs, because usually on social media, so Twitter, LinkedIn has been like my go-to place for networking. You could just mingle with people, with senior PMs, ask them for coffee chats, and then these are the people that usually give you referrals to companies to start working there. So for my role, for every role I've had in tech, I have never had to apply because I network. And then if people realize, okay, you need a job, they'll be able to refer you to a company for you to get a job. So the first thing, you make sure your resume is intact, because when you're networking, they'll obviously ask for your resume. And then you would the other thing is you do mock interviews. So I failed a number of interviews before because I didn't do mock interviews in the sense that just try and get some questions, some sample questions that they'll usually ask you. Go through the questions, get somebody you'll be practicing to, even if like 1 hour a week. It could be product sense, it could be product design questions, strategy, anything. Try and get used to hearing these questions so that when you go for the interview, it is not news to you. And usually the reason why you need to do mock interviews is that getting PM interviews is not easy. So once you are able to get an interview, you should be able to ace it. So you need to just prepare before your interview. And then I don't know if you know, how many of you know Diego Granados? He's on LinkedIn. He has a YouTube channel, and then Exponents on YouTube. They always have these mock interviews sessions that maybe you could follow throughout. Right. Please let's go to during the interview. Yeah. So now, congratulations, you are now at the interview. Now, once you have your interview, you'd go with your portfolio if you have one. It's not difficult to build a portfolio. You could go to portfolio samples on Webflow, no code. Maybe you could build that. That is if you have one. But if you don't stress. And then you take your time in answering. You take your time in answering each question. So it's okay to ask for some time. Honestly, people are not, they are not, don't be scared to say maybe you need like 2 minutes to think or 1 minute to put your text together, because nobody is perfect when it comes to interviewing. All right. And if it's a virtual interview, at least make sure you have your camera on. Usually when you have your camera on, you're able to keep communication and eye contact with your interviewer, and then they get to see you, get to see your emotions and everything. But then if it's usually off, there's a lot of, you don't know what's going on the other end, and they don't know what's going on your end, so just try and have it on time. Yeah, then after the interview, you make sure you send a thank you message to the panel or the recruiter, whoever sent you the mail. Send a thank you message. And then if you haven't heard back from, usually when you go for interviews, they say maybe you hear back from us in 2 weeks time. If you don't hear in 2 weeks time, feel free to send a message to follow up and know what's up. Like maybe you said I'll hear from you back. I haven't heard from you yet. Is there any issue, anything? And then the last thing is you ask. So asking is, if you don't get the role, you'd ask for feedback. So some recruiters are great enough to give you feedback on what went well and what didn't go well in your interview, so that you are able to prepare well for your next interview when you land one interview opportunity. So yeah, I wish you the best, and I'm open to questions. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you so much, Nana, for your time. Thank you so much. So please, if you have any question, please just drop it on the chat. So within the next 2 minutes, we'll be taking questions. So please do well to drop it on the chat. If maybe there is a part of the slide that you didn't understand, or if you have any question or maybe contribution, you can just drop it on the chat. And I'll also drop a link to our LinkedIn, so you can connect with her via LinkedIn. And if you have more questions, you can also reach out to her. So please, everyone, let's drop our questions, our contribution, or you can just say thank you for a wonderful session. So please, let's do that on the chat. Thank you. So I will be dropping the URL link to our LinkedIn profile. So do well to please connect with her. Thank you. Okay, I can't see any question. So it means we are clear with every part. All right, so I just dropped the URL link to our LinkedIn. So please, everyone, let's connect with Nana. Please, let's do that now. So you can check the chat and connect with her via the link I dropped. So please, everyone, do that now. Thank you. All right, I believe there's no question. All right. Okay, thank you, Nana. Thank you so much for teaching us today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you guys for joining. Please do well to connect with Nana. Thank you so much. All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.